Good afternoon, participants. This is from the organizing team. So this session will be handled by Mr. Sibanshu Agnihotri, who is software engineer at Tata Consultancy Services (TCS). And this session he will demonstrate you how to work with the Hyperledger Fabric, as well as on the top of that how to work with the Composer, Hyperledger Composer. Hope this session will be interesting one. So everyone, please join. Now, Sibanshu, the session is yours. You can start.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you for the kind introduction, sir. So let's begin with the presentation now. So let's begin with the presentation. And today we will basically be discussing about technical aspects of Hyperledger Fabric and Composer. So I will be giving brief idea about what is Hyperledger and what is Fabric and Composer. After that, we will be discussing about technical aspects like how basically a transaction executes inside a Hyperledger Fabric network. Then we will see some installation steps. And one more thing, I cannot give you a hands-on session on installation because each of the component takes a quite sometime about 40 to 50 minutes to get installed. So it is a lengthy process. So I will be sharing some references there. You can watch the tutorials and you can install it. It's very easy, but it is a lengthy process. So I will be sharing link at the end of the presentation, and I will also be taking queries at the end of the presentation. So please be ready with your queries. So let's begin. So first one, as everyone has been discussing about what was the existing problem with the traditional system. So this was some concept of traditional system. As we can see here, there are different participants, and these participants are independent, and they want to communicate with each other. But in this case, second. Yeah, in this case, what was happening, like this process is very expensive because suppose there are 6 different participants, so everyone was maintaining its own database, and everyone it's quite expensive to manage different databases, and this process is inefficient as well because many times processes are getting repeated. And again, vulnerable. So vulnerable means basically open to threats. So this is insecure system because suppose participant B is there. So in this case, participant B might not be having the latest security mechanism. He may be using some outdated security mechanism. So in that case, B becomes open to threat as well. So there were some existing issues, and in previous sessions, it has already been discussed that why we needed blockchain. So I won't be focusing on that aspect. My focus will be on Hyperledger only. But in this slide, we can see why the blockchain technology came into the picture. So as we can see, blockchain connected every participant, and there was a single entity that was controlling the network. And again, there was no like in previous slide, we can see there was a trust factor involved. As a bank is a third party that acts as a mediator between A and B for any execution of the transaction. But here, no trust factor is involved. So it is more easy to communicate with each other, and there is a single database that is being maintained. So again, as we can see, all of this has already been discussed in previous sessions, like why we needed blockchain and why are we currently using it. But I will be discussing about Hyperledger today, and Hyperledger is different from a previous one that has been discussed, like Ethereum and other networks. So basically, Hyperledger is a permissioned network. So in permission network, what happens if any node is trying to join a network? In that case, some permission is required to join the network. So that becomes so in such cases where we are using Hyperledger, so there will be less computation required and performance will be improved because a less number of nodes, so less maintenance will be required. and that has been like drawbacks of Ethereum has already been discussed in previous sessions, so I won't be discussing that one again. So I will be basically giving you idea about Hyperledger, how to install Hyperledger tools and how to use that. So let's begin with the Hyperledger. So as Hyperledger is a open source project and it is funded by Linux Foundation, and it is mainly used to develop blockchain based applications. So there are different inside Hyperledger community, there are different frameworks and tools. So inside among those framework, one of the most commonly used framework is Hyperledger Fabric, and second, the tool that is commonly being used is Hyperledger Composer. So our focus will be on Hyperledger Fabric and Hyperledger Composer. So in this slide, as we can see here, there are different kind of frameworks and there are different functionality of each framework. So why we use Fabric? Why Fabric is commonly being used? So the main highlight of Fabric is that it is a it provides a modular architecture. So in modular architecture, what we can do, we can divide a system in different sub modules, and we can create we can develop those modules independently, and again we can combine them and create a whole system. So that modularity function is quite a good highlight of this Hyperledger Fabric architecture. And again there is a concept of pluggable consensus. So pluggable consensus means at the time of use you can use any consensus mechanism according to your need. So this is also a good point, good functionality that is provided by Hyperledger Fabric. And again, in a brief statement, I can say Hyperledger Fabric is a foundation for developing blockchain-based applications. So it provides it basically provides a base for the development of blockchain-based applications. And there are some other frameworks, but they can be used for different kind of functionality. But today we will be focusing on Hyperledger Fabric. And again, if we talk about tools, so again there are different kind of tools provided by Hyperledger community. And as we can see here, Hyperledger Composer is there, Hyperledger Calper is there, Celo is there, Quilt is there. But I haven't used others of them, but I've worked on Hyperledger Composer and I've worked on Hyperledger Calper as well. And Calper is usually is used for basically benchmarking purposes. Means if you are trying to measure the performance of your system, means you have developed any blockchain based application and you are trying to measure the performance of your system, that suppose how much memory your system is consuming. In that case you can use Hyperledger Calper. But here we will be discussing about Hyperledger Composer. So Composer is basically can be used as a tool and can be used on the top of Fabric framework to develop blockchain based application. So it basically accelerates the process of development. So I can give an example. Suppose you are developing an application for your client. So in that case, if you want to show some basic functionality of your application to the client, suppose there are 2 or 3 functions, you want to show that how their functions will be working. So you can use Hyperledger Composer. That will take very less time to create a basic blockchain based application just for demo purposes. So that is why we use Hyperledger Composer over the Hyperledger Fabric network. And if you are trying to develop a complete blockchain application, that is a business level application, so in that case you can use Hyperledger Fabric, and that will be a quite complicated process and complex steps will be involved. But just for the sake of demo purposes, or just for the show some basic functionality of your system, you can use Hyperledger Composer. So that is the difference. That is why we are focusing on Hyperledger Fabric and Hyperledger Composer. So again, let's look at now for what is Hyperledger Fabric. So as I've already discussed, Fabric provides a foundation for blockchain based applications. And again, there are some unique characteristics of Fabric. That is why it is being most commonly used nowadays. So first of all, it is permission. So I've already discussed, like in permission mode of network, you have to take a permission to join the network. So the main advantage is that the number of nodes will be limited. So again, you will get much more performance in terms of your network scalability, in terms of your network computation power. Everyone will be good. And again, there is a privacy. So data security and privacy has been a a highlight point of blockchain technology, because if we use blockchain, so automatically we are using data, we are maintaining the data security and privacy. So that is that is an inbuilt characteristic that is given by Hyperledger. So if you are installing Hyperledger, there are at the back end you are there will be pre-installed cryptographic mechanism that will be maintaining your data privacy and security. So that is an inbuilt feature. Again, finality. So finality basically means in terms of transaction, finality means a transaction is final. Means once the transaction is executed, you cannot reverse it or you cannot drop it. That will be forever. So that is finality. And performance. So I've already discussed, right? Performance is good in terms of if you are using Hyperledger, because in Hyperledger nodes are limited, so less computation is required, so you get more performance. And smart contracts in general purpose languages. So this is the one of the good point of using Fabric, because you can develop your own smart contract using general languages like JavaScript or Golang. You can write simple smart contracts. In terms of Ethereum, if we talk about in terms of Ethereum, there you have to use Solidity language. So Solidity language is quite a new language, and many of the developers are still uncomfortable in using languages like Solidity, and there is a syntax is quite complicated. So again, using languages like JavaScript and Golang gives you much easiness to develop your contracts. So this is also a good point. And there is a no concept of cryptocurrency. So in most of the Ethereum based network, what is the point that you have to generate some tokens? There's a currency concept, means for every transaction that is being executed over the network, there is some currency exchange is required. But here there is no concept of cryptocurrency. So here the main advantage is that in any of the application you can you can implement with it Hyperledger. And like cryptocurrency applications mainly limited, because they can be used in financial sectors and sectors where the money or some currency is involved. But here Hyperledger you can use almost everywhere. So that is also a good point. Again, highly modular. So as I've discussed, that is a modular architecture, means you can divide some modules for a system, and again independently you can create them. So that is a good functionality. So you can develop different modules and can test them individually and then combine that to get your complete system. So, and again, I've talked about pluggable consensus. So pluggable consensus means at the time of need, you are plugging in any consensus algorithm and using it again. When that is not required, you can discard it. So that is the, and again I will be talking about terms like membership services and endorsement in upcoming slides. So let's come to the next slide. So here we can see this is the main Fabric architecture. So here the main role is being played by peers. So inside every network there will be some peers, and they will be communicating with the client-side application. So what happens? A blockchain developer will be developing client-side application, and that application will be containing some transactions that will be executed, and that transactions will be communicating with the peers available in the network. So there are three main peers in a Hyperledger Fabric network. There is endorser, there is committer, and there is orderer. So if we see here, this endorser is directly taking input from client side application. So work of endorser is to execute the transactions given by the client side application. And again committer and orderer. So second is that orderer also takes transactions from client side application. And what it does, so first of all, let me tell you something. Every peer will be containing its own ledger, own chain code, and some events to execute. So that will be the process. Every peer will be maintaining its own ledger and chain code inside the Fabric network. So for endorser peer, it is mandatory to have a ledger and chain code, because endorser peer are the peers who execute a chain code. So means who execute the transaction, and transaction are to execute transaction, some rules are defined in the smart contract. Chain code is basically a collection of smart contracts. So for executing transaction, a smart contract is required. So for every endorser peer, chain code is mandatory and ledger is mandatory. But for orderers do not require ledger or chain code, because orderer are something, they are not involved in transaction execution. What they do, they just collect client transactions from client side application, and they create a block of this transaction and they send it for the validation purposes. Because we all know inside a blockchain there is a transaction validation process, means overall consensus process. If the transactions are validated, then only the responses are saved. So that is the process of orderer peer. So for a orderer peer, it is not mandatory to have a ledger or chain code, or generally they do not have any ledger or chain code. They only collect transaction, put them into a block, and transfer these transactions to committer. And the task of committer PS are to take the transactions from orderer PS and validate them. So there are three processes involved: executing transaction, collecting them and putting them into the block, and then validating them. So these three mainly transactions are going on in a Hyperledger Fabric network. And again, for committer, it is mandatory to have ledger, because ultimately they are going to update the ledgers according to the transactions that were executed in the past. But there is no necessary for a committer to have chain code. So these points you have to remember. Once again, I am repeating it. For endorser, you have to maintain the ledger and chain code, means endorser must be having ledger and chain code. But committer can have chain code or not, but it is mandatory for a committer to have a ledger. And for orderer, it is not mandatory to have a ledger and chain code, and generally they do not have it. So this was the process of how they are communicating, how the PS are doing their work inside the Fabric network. And like we can see here, some membership services are also there, some external certification authority and Fabric certification authority. So as I've already discussed, Hyperledger Fabric is a permission network. So these services are used for granting permission to any external node which is trying to join the network. So what node, in the sense we can say, a node can act as a peer inside the network. So if a node is trying to communicate with other peers, means if a node is trying to join the network, in that case some membership services, he has to be a member of the Fabric network. So that membership will be given by some certificates, and there is some certification authority that provides the certificates to the external node. So that is the complete process. And again, I will be in upcoming slide I will be taking an transaction, and I will be showing some steps that how the transactions are exactly executing inside a Fabric network. So first now discuss how basically the application is interacting with the ledger. So there is the main part is that a blockchain developer is there who is developing the client side application, who is writing transactions, who the same developer will be developing the smart contract for the business organization. So if a smart contract is what a smart contract basically contains rules for the organization. So there can be a good example. Suppose you are selling some product, so you want to sell it for at least for 5,000 rupees, means you want your products to be sold at rupees 5,000. So you can put a condition inside the smart contract that if a customer is giving money above than 5,000, only then the product should be sold. If he is giving 4,000 or something lesser than 5,000, in that case the transaction will directly be rejected. So that is that is the rule. So you are defining some rules, so that will be written inside the smart contract. On the basis of those rules only the transaction will get executed inside the network. So now here, as we can see, client application will be sending some transactions to the Fabric network, and inside that a smart contract will be present that will be governing transaction, that how the transaction will be executed. So a smart contract will be basically dealing with the blockchain part and maintaining the blockchain data, and will be diverting the transaction according to the conditions given. So here, as we can see, ledger is there. So inside ledger we can have two things. We generally have two things inside a Fabric ledger. First is word state, second is blockchain. So word state is what? Word state is basically the state of the ledger at a current point of time. So you can consider word state as a database of the system. So at a current point of time, what is the data stored inside a network? That is word state. And blockchain is what? It is the history of the transactions that are executed till now. So suppose you are executing some transactions. So transactions basically will be giving some queries, and the queries will be like get, put, or delete. Means either you are trying to get some data from the database, either you are trying to save some data to the database, or either you are deleting some record. So these get, put, or delete will be done on the database, mean on the word state, and the transaction corresponding to that will be executed, and that will be saved to blockchain. So again, inside the ledger, these two things are separate things that inside that are always present inside the ledger. And I can give an example. Basically, suppose there is a customer details saved in the database. So you are trying to delete that customer details. So what is happening? That details is being deleted from word state. Means that detail of the customer is stored inside the word state, and that is going to get deleted when you run the delete command, run the delete transaction. But that particular transaction is executed at the back. Means a delete transaction, that transaction will be containing details like the this customer customer detail was deleted from the system. So that transaction will be going to get stored inside block, and that block will be for permanent. Means there is a concept of immutability or finality, as I've already discussed, that once there has been some changes, that is forever. You cannot alter them or modify them. So there is a two different thing. One is block and one is word state. So database is basically word state, and there is a concept of block, that so both ledger will be combining of word state and blockchain. So how this is the way that the application is going to interact with the ledger and maintaining the ledger and updating the ledger. And again, if there is
I have a small question.
yes,
Can I ask you also? So you're showing world state and the blocks,
yes.
and saying world state is a database. Is it a traditional database kind of like you use RDBMS kind of?
Yeah, that is level DB we use in blockchain, or couch DB. So that is basically key value concept. Means in for a particular key some data will be stored. So generally we use level DB inside blockchain.
Okay. So that's because if we use the traditional database, generally these transactions are stored anyway as metadata. That's why I got this correct.
Okay. So shall I continue?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So again, Fabric Ledger. So as I've already discussed these things in the previous slide, that there is a world state and there is a blockchain. So blockchain is basically containing the transactions, history of transaction that has been executed in the past, and world state is maintaining the data at the current point of time. So that is all only written in these points, like blockchain and world state is there, and a separate ledger is maintained for each channel. So channel concept I will be discussing in upcoming slide. There is a channel. Channel is basically created to perform communication between different peers. So there will be a separate ledger for that. We will discuss about it in upcoming slide. And transaction read are written to the blockchain. So again, transaction details are stored in the blockchain, and channel configurations are also there. And again, that like for word state we can use either level DB or couch DB. So if we have some complex query, then we use couch DB. Generally we use level DB because we use simple key value store. Means particular key will be referring to some data in the database. And again, smart contract decide what is to written to the word. So it is containing the business rules. So there are some logic written inside the smart contract that decides that what is to be what the data is going to get written inside the word state. So that was the basically the Fabric Ledger. And again, the roles of peers I've already discussed in previous slide. There were three peers, and like endorsing peer was the one who were endorsing the transactions. Mean there was the they are taking proposals from client side application and they are executing them. And so that an endorsing peer must hold a smart contract, because on the basis of a smart contract only he can decide, that peer can decide what to perform or what not to. And again, ordering node basically includes transaction into the block, and is communicate with endorsing peers, and it does not hold a smart contract, does not hold ledger. So as I've already said, it is not mandatory for an ordering node to have a smart contract or a ledger, because it is just collecting the transaction and sending them for the validation purposes. And committing peers, so committing peer maintains ledger and the state. And again, I've said that whatever the transaction will be executed, there will be some changes to the ledger. So maintaining those ledgers is done by committing peers and committing transactions. And this may or may not hold smart contract, because there's no need for logics to be checked, because that work is done by endorsing peer. So committing peer basically will be containing ledgers, but it is not it may contain or not contain a smart contract. So these were the rules, and this is the process of reaching to a consensus inside a Fabric network. So these were the three nodes, and these were the process, basically endorsing a transaction, then ordering it, then validating it. In this way, the consensus is going to get achieved inside a Fabric network. So again, now I will be discussing a 7-step process, and that particular a sample transaction will be coming to a Fabric network, and how the responses will be saved, and how the whole process is going to get executed. So as we can see here, client-side application basically containing some transactions to get executed first. So that transaction will be proposed first. So first step will be to propose those transactions, means that will be sent to the endorser peer. Endorser peer will be getting those transactions from client-side application, and here, as we can see, there is some endorsement policy. So endorsement policy is what means E0, E1, E2 must sign. Means they should accept the proposal. Means if you are an endorser peer, so you must accept some proposal from the client-side application. If you are not signing, then the transaction is going to get rejected. So one more thing is that only the endorser peer can sign the that transaction. Means they can only propose, accept the proposal. Like P3 and P4 are not, they are not here. They are a committing peer here. They are not endorser peer, so they cannot they are not part of this policy, because they cannot accept the proposal. So for endorsement policy only applies to the endorser peer. So first step is to propose the transaction. So as we can see here, client application submit a transaction proposal for particular these three of the endorser peer. And now second step is execute proposal. So whatever the proposals were given by the client side application, that is going to get executed at each peer, and there will be some changes corresponding to them. So there will be some read write of operation behind after executing these transactions, and all the data will be collected, and that will be remain inside the Fabric, and changes will not be permanent till the transaction are going to get validated. Means if the transaction are validated, only then these read write return operation and whatever the changes were made, they will be permanent. So we'll see that so second step is to execute proposal. So when the endorser peer gets proposal from this client side application, they then execute. After that, the third step is proposal response. So after executing transaction, there will be some response given to the client side application, and these are basically the read write set of operations that are returned to the client side application. And again, these sets needs to be signed by the endorser, because that is a verification process that only the endorser peer have executed these transactions. So again, after submitting this proposal back to the client side application, now client side application will again be communicating with the order peer for these transactions to get validated. So again, as we can see, order transaction. So order transaction means collecting the collecting the transaction for ordering purposes, and these this order PS will be sending these collected transactions to the committing PS. So first order transaction means collect all the transactions given by the client side application, then send them to the committing PS. So again, now what it is doing, order delivers to committing PS. So it is basically sending them to committing PS for ledger updation. So peer can deliver other PS in a hierarchy notion. So here basically we are.
Sorry for interrupting again. Really sorry, sir. When you say
Yes.
committing peers, does it mean the equivalent of miners when we talk in blockchain?
Miners are one who generates a new block in the blockchain.
Yeah.
So that you can consider them as a, because that is a complete process. Means all the three peers are involved inside complete process. So everyone having a set of different tasks. If all the three tasks are performed simultaneously, in that case only the block will be generated. So that is not dependent on a particular peer. Means.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So So I've shown an instance of how these peers are getting communicating with each other. So there are different algorithms for ordering the this process, means for collecting transaction and sending. So there is a Solo or Kafka. So I've not I don't know much about these algorithms, but I can I can send you some references. I can share some references over these algorithms, so you can see them in later slides. Again, so the next step is to validate transactions. So this is done by committing peers. And what is going to get, so ledger is being ledger is going to get updated by these committing peers on the basis of endorser peer. Whatever the transactions were executed by endorser peer and what were the responses were saved at that time, according to that only the committing peer will going to change the ledger state. Means that now the ledger will be updated and the transaction will be stored to the blockchain. So again, I've told you ledger contains two parts: word state and blockchain. So blockchain, the transactions will be, transaction details will be stored, and the data will be updated on the word state. So again, this is the validation process. So now the whole process is complete because we have validated the transactions. We have successfully reached to a consensus. So if the invalid transactions are there, so again details will be saved for those transactions as well, but like there will be no updation to the word state, but the transaction details will be saved to the blockchain. Means some invalid transactions were also executed at current point of time. So again, this is the validation process. Now notify transaction. So since all the process is now done, so application can be now get notified by the these peers, and the corresponding read write operation, whatever the read write operations were done by the system at that time, that will be permanently saved to the client side application. Now the means now client side application can see those what were the actually changes to the database, or what were the changes done by the PS at that point of time. So till validation, all the processes on hold, and once the transactions are validated, then the you can see the changes in your system. So that is the complete 7-step process. And again, all the three peers currently simultaneously work. So generally we do not find a difference. Means we cannot see like endorser peer is doing some work at some point of time, then again this is not a series of steps. It is very simultaneous process. So in a matter of seconds, all the process get executed, and client side application get response from the Fabric network. So again, ordering service. So this is the service that I've discussed in the past. The main part of the order nodes, order peer, is to collect the transaction and send them for the validation purposes. So there is as I've discussed, there is some algorithms for performing ordering service. So that is Solo, Kafka, and Raft. So for there are some network in the blockchain where mostly crash fault is there. Means nodes gets crashed sometimes. So in that case, we can use Raft consensus mechanism, or Kafka, or for us single node is there. Means you are developing a single Fabric network, and just 2 or 3 peers going to get communicated. In that case, some algorithm is there, Solo, so that you can check on the internet how they actually works. So let's come to the next slide. And channels. So channels are basically this is try if you are trying to communicate, means there are suppose 2 peers and they want to communicate among themselves. So you can create a channel for them. Suppose there are 4 peers in your Fabric network, and you want to make a set of different peers. Suppose A, B, C, D are there, and you want you know that A and B will be communicating with each other, and C and D will be communicating with each other. In that case, you can create a channel for AB. So channel A, channel 1 will be containing peer A and B, and channel 2 will be containing peer C and D, and they will be communicating inside that channel. So whatever going to get updated, that will be remain inside those channels. So channel will be having their own ledgers, because that will be containing the changes that were made between A and B and C and D. and again the particular ledgers are going to get updated according to the what were the transaction executed by the transaction proposed by the client side application. But channel contains their own ledger, so you can clarify the differences, that what the transaction that were executed between A and B only. So that is not written here, but that is the main work of channel. And channel can contain their own ledgers, and they can can be installed on PS to access the word state. Means because ultimately from the client side application, if you are getting some transaction, so ultimately they are going to modify the word state. So you can install channels and directly communicate with the word state. So again, a peer can participate in multiple channels, because there is suppose four I've already discussed, like A, B, C, D peers are there, and A want to communicate with B, and A want to communicate with C as well. So again, we can create two channels, 1 and 2, where A will be common to both of the channels, but B and C will be different. For B and C there will be only single channel, but for A there will be two channels. So that can also happen inside a inside a Fabric network. And concurrent execution for performance and scalability. So concurrent execution means, suppose there are some transaction associated with peer A, and there are some transaction associated with peer B and C. So for A, there are, suppose A is communicating with B and C. So at the same time, if you have multiple channels, so you can communicate both transaction at the same time. Means you can communicate with you can execute the transaction of A and B and A and C. So that is concurrent execution of that. So this is the performance will automatically be better in the case of if you have multiple channels in your Fabric network. So now as we can see here, this is a single channel network. So there is basically a single channel, and each of the peer is present inside the channel, and they are communicating with each other. So here basically this is the system channel, and all the peer are going to get communicate. Peer are going to execute some transaction within themselves, and they will be having some same chain code and maintain the same ledger. And there will be again this is the concept, like endorser peer is there and committing peer are there. So that is only we can see here, like endorsement peer, endorser peer are there, E0, E1, E2, and E3. So they are going to execute the transactions. So but in case of multi-channel network, what is going to happen, suppose E0 and E3 connect to the red channel for chain code Y and Z. So as we can see here, if you are supposed to E0 and E3 are trying to communicate with each other, so they will be creating a separate channel, and other other ledgers are not going to get updated at that time. Only the channel ledgers associated with that particular channel, that is shown in red here, so that that will be going to get executed for that corresponding chain code. So what we are getting here actually is that, means for a particular channel we can create a separate chain code. Means if you are trying to execute some particular set of transactions, and you want to involve only two of the peers. Here we are involving E0 and E3. So for particular channel, means particular peers, you are trying to execute some particular smart contract. At that time you can create a channel, so only those ledgers will be updated according to that conditions, or whatever were the conditions written in the chain code. So that is the good functionality, because at many times we generally do not need to involve all the peers, since here we are only showing 4 peers, but in real application there maybe 100 or 1,000 peers can be there. Means a larger network can be there. So in that case, if only 4 or 5 peers are trying to communicate, so they can create a channel, and they can perform some they can use some chain codes that will be for their transactions, not for all of the transactions. So that is the functionality of multi-channel network. It basically improves the performance of the Fabric network. So that is why the channel concept is coming. Means just for involving some particular endorser peer, you are using these channels. So client application. So client application is basically a blockchain developer writes some codes and creates application, that application only going to get communicated, with the Fabric network. So for that we use a SDK, and that SDK basically connect Fabric network to the client side application, and client side application can send some queries to the Fabric network to get the word state at current point of time. And there's some all of this application will be also communicating with MSP, mean membership services, because the client side application will be used by some user, so user will be deciding who can be the node of the network. So that is local MSP, means membership services, membership service provider. So MSP will be only be decided by the user that is going to use the client side application. So for that there is a link to MSP also, means they decide first that who is going to be the peer of the network, and what were the and again we can see a channel. So again channel will be connected, because every time not all peers will be communicating, some particular sets are going to execute some particular set of transactions. So in that case channel connection will also be given to the client side application, and that all will be managed by Fabric SDK. Yes, through Fabric SDK everything will be connected, and client can be written in different languages like Node.js, Go, Java. So we basically develop a client-side application that will be containing some UI and some Java, means some UI part or some backend code. So that is how you are generally how you develop an application, that will be done by the developer only. And that Fabric network, inside Fabric network, smart contract will be there, and a smart contract will also be written that can be written in Golang or JavaScript. So this was it. And Fabric CA, so that is the CA is the certification authority, and it provides e-certs, means electronic certification, and that certification basically used for identify something on the network. So that provides an identity to the peers or whatever things you are going to get connected to the Fabric network. So basically Fabric certification authority provides identity to the each individual entity. So again there are some characteristic of it, like high availability, authenticate, enroll ID. So that is the that is basically for that is what that makes a Hyperledger network, Hyperledger Fabric network permission. Because every time if a node is trying to join a network, he passed through these some certification stages, and there will be some like they have to first communicate with the membership service provider for getting some identity, again for the verification purposes. And this is all done this is all being done due to to stay away from the malicious nodes that are trying to attack the network, and again to limit the number of nodes, because in permission node that is the main highlight, that the number of nodes are generally limited. So that is that is the work being done by Fabric certification authority. And endorsement policies. So endorsement policies are certain policies through which that transaction can be endorsed. And endorse mean how to particularly accept a transaction for for execution. So there is some of the policies I do not know much about them, but these are the policies that according to which some conditions are need to be met. According to that only a transaction can be proposed. Means if client side application is sending some transactions to the endorser peer, so they must use this policy to decide whether to accept this transaction or not. So these are some conditions, and these are some policies. A special chain code is written for all of this to decide whether to endorse the particular transaction or to reject it. Or the once the transaction is being endorsed, after that only it can be executed. So again there is endorsement policy examples are also given here. Like there can be different policies, like some policy will be requiring signature from all of the acting members, and some will be requiring say signature from one or two, not all of them. So that can be different policies. Means suppose if there are 3 peers, and if you are going to execute a transaction, so there can be a policy like if two of them signs the certificate, then in that case that transaction can be endorsed. So there can be different policies for them. And again, there is a concept of organization. So organization basically defines a boundary for the fabric chain network. So there is a complete setup, you can say. So organization will be defining all the details of a fabric network, that how many peers are there, or how many order nodes are there, what are the membership services for identity, what are the users that are going to use the application or the network, and what are the admin present in the system. So all these details are basically contained by organization. So if you are suppose participants, all the members, all the assets, you can particularly the details can be given by the network, that if there are some queries you can execute over the command prompt. So if you execute those queries, you can you can see the details of your fabric network, that these are the peers present in your network, these are the admin, these are the users, these are the order peers. So all these details contained inside organization. So different organization can be created, and different so creating organization basically helps us to suppose there are two stakeholders, as we can say. Suppose a hospital is there and suppose a insurance provider is there. So they can act as a different organization, and they can communicate with each other. So again, for insurance provider, there will be some different participants that can be there inside an insurance provider, and there inside hospital there can be different departments like uh, chemist department is there, who will be providing medicine. Some lab reports can be generated. So these can be different department can be there, and they can act as a peer on that organization. And again, for insurance provider, there will be some particular peer in that whole organization. So again, they can communicate with each other. Means two different organizations can communicate with each other. So this organization concept basically simplifies all of the process. So again, every organization will be having some ID, because everything is fabric network is identified by an ID only. So again, organization will be containing some ID as well. Now user registration and everything. So here what is going to happen, every time you will be deciding that what are the users of your application. Means how many users are there and who can use your application. So first you will be creating an admin, and that admin will be governing that client side application. Means the person who will be using your client side application, and that admin can add the different user and can give them different rights for your applications to use. So first you create an admin, and then you can communicate with the fabric certification authority to verify some users, and then user will also be given some ID and some login details to use that application. So basically that is external part, that is not communicating with any fabric network. This is an external process, that there is admin that is using certification authority, and that is that is getting some rights basically to use the client side application. So that is the process of registration. So after once the user is registered with the system, he will be receiving some credentials, and that he can use the application. Now this is the main part, that how you are going to implement the network. So for creating network, so here I'm mainly discussing about Hyperledger Composer, and here the part is that there are some different files are there, that there is these inside these files you have to write code for your business net. So when you are going to implement, as you can see here at the bottom of the slide, this is a command to create the network. So I will be showing Vayu is the tool, Yeoman tool, that is need to be installed first, and after installation of Yeoman tool, you can create a Hyperledger Composer network on the top of Fabric, and that after installing that network, once you run this command, means after installing Yeoman tool, if you run this command, there will be some details that you need to fill. Suppose there you will be asked for network name, network details, who is the owner of the network. All of these details you need to fill. As soon as you fill these details, you will be getting these files. These folders will automatically be generated at some certain path you are given. So there all these folders will be generated. So these are these are the requirements, basic business network application requirements for the implementation of network. So these are the, as well, you can consider them as a technical skills that you have to you have to be good at, because if you are going to develop a fabric based fabric and composer based blockchain application, then you must know about modeling language, transaction logic, query language, or access control language. So these are the basic requirements of implementation part. So I will be discussing each of them one by one. So modeling language is basically a object oriented language. So here what you can do inside this is a .cto file. This is the extension of this file is .cto. So there you define the model of your system. Like suppose if we talk about a healthcare system. So in healthcare, a doctor can be there, a patient can be there, a chemist can be there, and they will be communicating with each other. So either you can consider them peer as well. Means a doctor is a different peer, or peer or node. You can say doctor is a different node inside the network. Patient is a different node, and like chemist is a different node, and they want to communicate with each other. So in that case, in model file you can define the participant of your network. So here that we can see that we have defined doctor as a participant. He will be having some characteristic like which hospital he is associated with, what is his consultation fee, all of this, and what is his specialty. Again, like similar to participant, there is a concept of asset as well. So inside asset you can see like participant, asset concept is there. Asset are entities over which transactions are going to get performed, and participant are something which are executing some transactions. Means suppose a patient is looking for appointment, so patient will be generating some request for appointment, and that request will be sent to doctor, and that will be appointment can be an asset because the value of appointment will be updated. So appointment can be either fixed or rejected. So that will be an asset to the organization. So we are basically going to list them inside this model file only, but we will be writing code like asset, appointment. So that you can see I will be sharing references on how to implement a basic blockchain application. So this is the concept of modeling language. So again, as we can see here, whatever the transactions you are going to execute inside your network, you need to mention them also inside the modeling file. So here basically we can see we are executing a transaction of confirm appointment. So this this transaction is basically taking the details of patient and doctor, and transaction is checking whether to confirm appointment or not. So whenever this transaction will be executed, appointment asset is given in third line. So this appointment asset is going to get updated. So that is the process of that is the process that is going to get executed behind network. But this is the main highlight. Means inside the model file you have to write these type of codes. And again, transaction logic. So this is the main part. This is the basically you can consider as a smart contract of your system. So this is the smart contract. Means you are defining some rules. According to that only your transactions are going to execute it. So first in model file you have defined your transactions, that what were the transactions you are going to execute, and in this file you are basically writing down your smart contract. Means chain code. Means you are defining some rules over that your transactions are going to execute, and your participants are going to get communicated with each other. So here as you can see, if the status of the appointment is already confirmed, means suppose you have requested for some appointment and again you are executing the same transaction of confirm appointment, so that the error you will be getting that appointment is already confirmed. So that is the can say basic rule for your application. Suppose if a patient has already fixed an appointment, already confirmed an appointment, so again he cannot reconfirm it. So that is kind of rule. So there are different rules, and again, they, like we can see here, if the doctor specialty is not equal to appointment group, means suppose some patient is coming for the appointment of eye disease related to eye, and the patient and the doctor's specialty is of heart, means he is specialized in heart disease. So in that case, there's there should be some error, like this appointment cannot be fixed because doctor is not available. So as you can see here, this is the rule for your organization. So in this way, you can write down your smart contact and you can execute it and you can get some response over that. And again, queries. So queries are the most important part. This is this retrieves the data from the blockchain, or we can say from the ledgers, whatever the data is stored. You can if you want to get that data. So there are some queries. So here, as we can see, there is some query of get appointment by participant. So as we have already discussed, like doctor was a participant in our application. So here is the description. There is a list of appointment owned by a specific doctor. So if you run these queries, so all of the appointment that has been fixed for a particular doctor, you can receive those details. So this is the query language, and this is basically .SQL file that is stored inside that folder only. That folder is generated that I have shown earlier. So all these code you have to first of all you have to learn these languages. These are very simple languages, not much complex. The syntax is not that complex, very easy to understand, and you can within days you can get accustomed to it. And like if you learn all of this, so it will be very easy for you to write a basic blockchain based application. So first of all, you have to learn basics of modeling language to model your organization, that how your model is how your organization or how your application is going to work. Then you will be defining some rules for your application, like how the logics, what is the logic behind your application, whatever you are going to perform, what is the logic for that. And again, that is the final part, that what are the queries, means what the data you want to get from the system. So these three things you need to learn. And one more part is there of access control. So here what happens, this is basically for accessing some assets or transactions that has been executed or that has been modified by some participants. So that concept is also necessary, because in some cases if there is a rule for organization, so everyone can access data at any time. So that should be the privacy of data should be maintained basically. So as we can see here, like there we have defined a rule like chemist can read the description, medical prescription. So basically that is like chemist is allowed to read the medical prescription, means chemist can only read the prescription, but he cannot modify it. So operation is read, means the right we have given is of read only, not for write. So that if suppose doctor is there, so doctor can write as well, means doctor can change the medical prescription also. So in that case, these are some basic tools that you need to define inside your organization to to ensure the data privacy, means who can access the data, who can change or modify the data. So these four things basically play a role in the implementation of business network. Now this is the main part, that installing Hyperledger components. So if you are I basically will be discussing about Linux operating system, because in past I have worked on Linux only. So that is some prerequisites that you have to you should have with you. So basically for Hyperledger component, if you have Linux or Mac OS, these are basically the prerequisites. Docker engine is there, Docker Compose is there, Node should be installed, Node dependency, npm Git, Python, everything. Whatever, suppose you are going to write your smart contract in Golang, then again you will have to install a Go language repository in your system. So these are, and again code editor is VS Code, some generally we use in Linux. So that is code editor, that is of your choice, whatever you want you can use. So these are basically prerequisite. And again, for installing prerequisite, if you are using Linux, and I will suggest you to work on Linux, because since it is I've already discussed, it is funded by Linux organization only. So that is the development becomes very easier. You have to just run some commands, and all the dependencies will be installed automatically. So as we can see here, if you are running on Ubuntu, so you can run this command only, that the link is given, and prerequisites.sh file, script file, shell file we call it in Linux. So if you run this shell file, all the prerequisites will be downloaded, and again you can just, if you run this command, so all of them will be automatically installed on your system. So there's there's no need you are one by one selecting all the prerequisites and you are installing them one by one. There's no need. Just use this command and just download that .sh file on your system, and just run that shell file in your system. So this command only is going to install all the prerequisites for you. So that is why I'm suggesting you, if you are going to develop any Hyperledger based application, just use Linux for your system development, because it is going to get very easy for you to develop application. Otherwise, if you are using Windows or Mac OS, so that is the process is quite lengthy and difficult. You have to install different modules separately, and sometimes many errors are also going to come, because at many times version do not match, and there is a that version concept is highly recommended. Means what happens in such cases, like if you are using Composer of version 0.20 and Fabric of version 0.19, so in that case again that is not going to work. Means you will be getting error. So if you have used Composer version 0.19, that in case your Fabric version should also be 0.19. So if you are going to use Linux, so all of these errors they will not be there. So I will suggest you to use Linux for development purposes. And again, so that is that were the prerequisites that you need to install for Hyperledger development. And again, now how to install actual development environment. So there's we will be installing Composer and Fabric, because we are going to develop application on Composer and Fabric. So here, as we can see, in prerequisite we have already installed an npm on our system. So using that npm command, we can install Composer, and CLI tools are there basically, and these tools we are installing version 0.19. So as we can see here, if you are installing Composer CLI version 0.19, so for REST server, if you are going to use REST server, so again for REST server your version should be 0.19. So in that case, you always you will have to use only the same version. If you are if you make it 0.20, so definitely you are going to get error when you are going to execute your application. You will be getting error for sure. So that remember this point always. Like always use the same version of whatever the components you are going to install. So as we can see there, this is the actual development environment. If you install this, then after that you can you will be able to develop Hyperledger based application on your system. So again, for first you need to install CLI tools, then you need to install REST server, then you need to install application assets utility for generating application assets, and there is a human tool I have already discussed that you need to install, because when you are going to whenever you are going to develop an application, first you have to create a network. So human tool is used for that generating network, and this is the command like npm install and -tu. So by using this command you can install a human tool, and by after that you can run that previous command that I was showing you earlier. That command will be generating network for you, and you will be getting all the files automatically on your system. After getting those files, you just need to write the code for your business application. All this you have to do on. And after that, again, so that was step one. Means first you have to install the CLI tools. So these are the basic Composer tools that you need to install. And after that, there's a concept of Playground. So Playground is basically used to test your application. Means if you have, suppose you have developed some application, blockchain based application. So after that there is a concept of .bna file. Means we generally call it banana file. So after generating that application, means after writing the code for your application, there will be some command, and using those commands you can generate the banana file of your folders, and that will be a single file. And like for example, you can consider that as a .zip file. So like .zip file, there is a .bna file, that banana file, and there is an online composer playground. So there, that this is the link for that online playground. This going to this link, you can directly select upload that banana file over that online composer playground, and you will be getting some UI to test your application. Suppose you have defined that participant like doctor, patient, everything on your application, means you have written code for all of them. So as soon as you upload that BNA file over this online composer playground, all the participants will be coming there. Like you have defined this participant, you have defined these transactions, so you can check basically whatever you can check. Suppose you can execute a particular transaction for confirming appointment or something, so you will be getting some output. So that is why I'm telling you that composer is accelerates the process of development. Just for going online, just after generating banana file, you can directly go to the online composer and you can test your demonstrating application. Then again, this is the command. So this will be installing composer playground on your local machine. So like this, the same you will be accessing on your local machine, and you can test your application on your local system. And again, that is that step is optional. IDE means whatever the code editor you are going to use for to make changes to your code. So because by using command prompt, it gets quite complicated, and you have to every time scroll up and down to check and to select your code. And in code editor, every for one by one folders are, you can see your folders, and you can go to the file directly. So that makes it easier to work on. So that is the part, that is the optional part. If you want to use, you can use any code editor. Generally on Linux we use Visual Code. And this is this is the main part, because as I've already discussed, we are going to install we are going to work on Hyperledger Fabric. Means we are creating a foundation of using Fabric, then on the top of that we are using Composer to develop our application. So here so we have to install Fabric as well. So that is and one more thing I'm telling you, that suppose if you are you have come to this part, means you have written down all the codes and you have created a banana file. So again, there is no need to install Fabric as well, because Fabric is needed to install when you are working on your local system. Just for checking just for checking this application online, you can if you have generated banana file, so that is all being done by Composer only. But here is the on local machine, if you are working, so in detail you are accessing everything, so then you need to install Hyperledger Fabric. So in that case you have to get this link and download all the there are some Fabric file that takes quite a lot quite time to install. It is a lengthy process. There will be some different files, and that is a basically zip file that will be you have to download. After that you have to run basically. So this is for installing Hyperledger Fabric, because on the top of Fabric you will be using Composer only. So for installing this, you can use this command, and as well as and when you download this file from this source, then there will be some different files. So inside that there will be different kind of script files. Inside that there will be file of called download fabric.sh. So that is a script file, and this is the this file you need to run. So when you execute this command and you run this file, then all the Fabric servers and whatever the requirements are needed, that will be downloaded automatically. And just after downloading this Fabric file, just after running this command, all the Fabric content will be downloaded, and like to run those commands like Docker. I've already told Docker is being used, so that Docker part after running this file, again you will be getting some file like startfabric.sh or something. So by using this file you can start your Fabric network, and again you can work on. So again, that the concept of admin and everything that I discussed earlier, create an admin card or certification authority, that is that concept will be coming after you run your this command start fabric. Means when you start fabric network, all of you can manage your network. You can define users for your network, you can define organizations for your network, you can create different peers, you can delete peers, you can endorse, or you can create admin card. Means for new user, every time a user is going to get connected to the network, there is a card, get a card he needs to get, so that card you can generate. So this is the complete process, and there's some UI, there's a screenshot I have attached with. So basically you can see here that first of all, these were the file that we have downloaded. So there in this folder, that fabric servers zip file I've mentioned, this we have downloaded. So inside this folder we can see we get different file of like start fabric, download fabric, everything. So first, before starting fabric, you have to download, you have to run this command download fabric, because you need to install all the fabric components. So first, since I have already downloaded initially that previously, so I did not run that command. But here, like, if you are going to use it for the first time, so first you have to use this command download fabric.sh, and after this command you can run this command. So as soon as you run this command, so you will going to get connected to your organization. As you can see here, there was only single organization in our application. So you can see here that organization one is started, is going to get started. So this was complete process. And after that, this is the final after that, when you started the fabric, after that you are going to create an admin card. So that admin card will be containing details of what is your network. That like in previous case we have created a doctor patient scenario. There the organization name was EHR. So there you can mention that we are going to use this network, organization network. So this is the way basically, and this is what the complete process means. You have to download all the fabric files, you have to download all the composer files, and for maintaining for managing your network, you have to run these commands. First you have to download all the fabric files, and then you need to start your fabric. So as soon as you start fabric, you are going to get connected to your network, and you are you can manage your peer admins, whatever the peers, what are the organization. And that is you might not be understanding it, because it is just very complex. It is just a part of it, very small part of it. There is a lot other folders are there, you need to change in them. You have to go to every of the folder, and there are small commands you have to execute for particular changes. Suppose you are there is a HLFP1 folder is there. This is the connection profile we are using. So this profile you can also change. Inside this profile, different organization can be there, and again in different organizations, suppose there are 5 organization inside this profile, so you are going to change to the 5th organization. So again you will have to go to that folder, and again there you need to execute some command to change the organization name, or change the peer of the organization. That is a very complex process. So again, in next slide, in resources slide, I am sharing some resources to you, and by these resources only you can download, you can get the basic details of fabric and code of the fabric, details of composer and code of the composer, and these are the prerequisites of for Hyperledger. So you can go to this page, you can directly download all the requisites, and you can install the Hyperledger. And I will recommend you to go through this demo application. So this application is basically provided by Hyperledger community only. So they are developing a tuna application, means tuna selling application. They are trying to sell a tuna fish. So there is a concept of buyer and seller, means they are creating a network, and there is a buyer that is buying, that is going to buy tuna fish, and seller is selling tuna fish. So buyer and seller are the participant of the network, and tuna is the asset. So there they have shown the complete development, that how you are there, that if you are first time user of Hyperledger, then in that case you can go through this link, and you can develop your basic small application of tuna network. So there, then after once you implement that application, you will be getting a lot of idea about how Hyperledger works, how Composer works, how Fabric works. So all the steps that I have seen, and many steps I have not included, there is a lot of step. If I have included those steps, there will be at least 8 or 10 more slides. So I cannot include all of them. But if you go to this link, this demo application link, so all of the details you will be getting. You will be also getting how to run Fabric, how to run Composer, how to install all the prerequisites. So I would recommend you please go through this link once if you are really want to develop your own blockchain application for the first time. So that's it, and thank you for this session. And if any query, I can take it right now. Hello.
Sudhanshu, kindly post the references you have made in the slide. The participants are requesting just post the
Okay,
references
okay, okay. Wait.
in the chat box.
I posted it. You can check. You guys can check all the links. Yeah, you can ask AP Akhilesh sir for the PPT, and my contact details you can get from him as well. Yeah, Hyperledger Composer is right now in deprecation status because not much of the developers are working on it. They consider Composer as an incomplete project right now, so they are not working on it. But you can you can use Hyperledger Fabric because everyone is right now using Fabric, and in future slowly the developer will be continuing on Hyperledger Composer as well. Just wait for some time. Yeah, PPT you can get from Akhilesh sir. He will be sharing you the details.
Sudhanshu, your PPT, you just send it to either me or Akhilesh sir. We'll
Yeah,
share with the participant.
yeah, yeah.
Share with the
You
participants.
can get it from Niyar sir as well. He will be giving you the PPT. Yeah, demo application link I've already given. You can check. I've pasted all the links in this chat box already. Please check. Wait, I'm attaching the link one more time. Yeah, this is the demo application link. Please check. No, this is the full difference. I think you should go with the Fabric first, because if you are really trying to work on blockchain and work in detail aspect, then you should go with the Fabric because there are much more uh, much more things to work on Fabric, and they are that is easier to work on. But I'm not sure which will be giving you more transaction rate per second, but I would suggest to work on Fabric because it is easier to work and it gives a lot more functionality in comparison to software. Any other queries?
Okay, no queries from the participant side. Okay, okay, okay. Thank
Okay,
you,
thank you.
Shivanshu.
Yeah, thank you,
You have
sir.
done a nice session by you. So I hope the participant will look forward to work with the Laser Fabric as well as
Yes, sir.
composer. Okay, thank you, Shivanshu. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks a
sir.
lot. Thank you, participants. Okay.